Everybody, it is the top of the hour, and with that, it is time for us to start our monthly firm call. And so this week, just to kind of give everybody a quick heads up, everybody's going to be muted. Everybody is going to have their video off because, as always, it's going on the YouTube channel on the interwebs. No, I'm not in Florida. This is fake background, but it is pretty and sunny. I wanted to have a little something for summertime. And yes, it is summer, so we'll be casual for the next couple of months, which means I won't be wearing a coat because it'll be hot. That said, rules of the road. I mentioned why everybody's muted and why everybody's video is off. Next, if you've got questions, send an email into me, William at phillipsfinancialstrategies.com, or send an email to operations@phillipsfinancialstrategies.com. If we catch it in time for the Q&A at the end, we'll make sure that we get it answered, and or we'll get you connected up with Brian, who is going to be speaking today. That is the simple short answer for rules of the road. And because of some time constraints and working with Brian, and he's got some prior obligations to get to, I'm going to have him speak first. I'll give some commentary about the office at the tail end after we're done, and then we kind of go on from there. That said, I'd like to introduce Brian Cohen. Brian runs BPC Consulting, and he, full disclosure, does some work with our firm in terms of making sure our security protocols look good and that we're doing some really good things on a technology front wise in terms of just managing a good sound office and making sure all the computers stay up to date and making sure that we're actually functioning as an office. So with that, I am going to turn things over to Brian and let him give us some helpful tips and maybe show us a trick or two. So with that, Brian, my friend, please take it away.
Thank you very much, William. I'm always happy to be here. As you know, my business is all things Apple. I want to take a minute and talk about passwords and password managers. I'm sure you know that William has and encourages people to use either LastPass or 1Password, depending on your conversation with Nathan. What I would tell you is it's not just using the password manager, it's also allowing it to set randomly generated passwords and not passwords you can figure out in your own head. I had someone I was working with just earlier today who had their Gmail hacked into because they were using password 123, even though it was saved to LastPass. So it's not just about using a password manager, but it's also generating secure passwords. If you are using 1Password or LastPass, both of them have an authenticator app that is connected to them. Said authenticator is the best way to generate two-factor codes because it's restorable from backup. So if I'm using Google Authenticator on my iPhone to create codes and I reset and I get a new iPhone or I reset my phone, all those authorizations are gone and I have to do password resets on all of those accounts. LastPass backs up into iCloud so that I can restore it if I restore my phone. People also ask me fairly regularly, should I be using Apple Pay or some of the other mobile payment platforms? The answer is yes, they're more secure than handing over your credit card number. If I use Apple Pay at Whole Foods as an example, they get my money, they don't get my card number. If you're familiar with, I think it was Home Depot and Target have both been hacked in the last couple of years, and they gave up credit card information. Well, if they don't have the credit card information to lose in the first place, they can't give it away to a hacker when they get breached. Also, if you use Apple Pay with debit cards, there are so Apple Pay Cash, which allows you to send money between people, just like the Cash App or PayPal or any of the other Venmo. Apple Pay done with debit cards is fee-free. So that is, and it is secure to use. What else would you like me to touch on, William?
My favorite topic, because
Okay.
I'm always on the go. I have to travel, I have various things, never like just at my house or just at the office. But let's talk VPNs for a minute. I mean, let's really talk about VPNs. Because like, I fly Southwest a lot, and I can use the internet, the interwebs for free, for messaging and chat, or watching, stuff on my iPhone, and when I'm not listening to a book on tape, or whichever. Actually, is it a book on tape if I listen to it on my iPhone? So
Audiobook,
different.
Audible.
Right, exactly. That's who I am. But when do I use the VPN? When do I not? Like, what are good VPNs? How do they work? What are they?
A VPN is, if I'm home right now and I'm not connected to a VPN, my internet traffic is going straight to Comcast and then going out to wherever it's going, which means somebody who is a hacker could be snooping on my private or personal information, especially if I'm sending social security numbers or financial information. Not a wise idea to do that on a public network. Do you need a VPN when you're at home? Well, I put one on my router, not on my individual devices. A VPN on my Mac will stop my Mac from talking to all of the other devices on my network. So my iPhone won't talk to my Sonos. My Mac won't talk to my backup drive wirelessly if I have a VPN on my home network. That said, I have my VPN. I use NordVPN personally, set to turn on automatically whenever I'm on a Wi-Fi that I do not trust, which is to say any Starbucks, any public Wi-Fis. I do not allow mine to run when I'm on cellular data unless I'm doing particular financial transactions, because it also interferes with location services at times. And if one is driving and using Waze or Google Maps, having interference between that knowing your location can be a problem. The best two services that I know of personally are NordVPN and ExpressVPN. Both have advantages and disadvantages. One of the things I like about Nord is I can trust individual networks like my home Wi-Fi, and I can tell it not to run on cellular networks, but it turns on with every other network automatically with no interference from me. Where ExpressVPN is great, except it's on all the time. Which, if you have a problem, for me, I use CarPlay in my car, which CarPlay does not talk well with VPNs. That's the system where my phone is pushed up onto the screen in the car. CarPlay and VPNs do not work together. All that ends up happening is my phone ends up crashing.
Thank you. That's actually really helpful. So on this VPN question, because I recently took the train to go see a client. So at Amtrak, they don't let you, like, you can't turn on your VPN on your machine and then connect to their Wi-Fi and then do what you need to do. So as a workaround, I think you have to turn the VPN off, connect, and then reconnect. Are there dangers in that? Or are there any kind of concerns that any of us should know about? Also, because we use VPNs to avoid malware, what's the difference between my laptop, which I'm on here for this, and say my computer or my cell phone, which now
is that in terms of VPN or
in terms of like VPN, or like being concerned about like the malware and the whole reason I'm keeping the thing off of it in the first place?
That's two different questions.
Okay.
The first question is VPNs are important for encrypting data between your device and wherever your information is going to.
Okay.
The reason that the Mac is more secure that the iPhone is more secure than the Mac is because with the iPhone, at least for now, you have to install from the App Store, which means they're curating what can and cannot get in there. With a Mac, you can install from anywhere. So if I wanted to install software from out of my Firefox browser, I could. That's not possible right now on the iPhone, unless one of these many competition bills goes through. That's part of the gist of the Epic versus Apple lawsuit. But for the moment, the iPhone and iPad are more secure because those things are not allowed on there. Do VPNs block malware and other stupid stuff from getting through to your device? Yes.
Okay. That's what I needed to know.
So yes, NordVPN for me or ExpressVPN for you is blocking malware from getting through to your device, just as it is people spying on you through a Starbucks hotspot.
Okay. So now that we've talked about spying and some of that stuff, I want to loop back to LastPass and good passwords, because I've noticed this on some of the websites I go to. Now, lately, I need two-factor authentication, but the other thing is that sometimes those pre-configured passwords inside of LastPass I can't use for one reason or another. They're too long, or they're, you know, repeated characters or whatever. So I have to make my own. What's a good formula that we, like lay folks, should think about when having to make our own passwords in those sort of rare instances? I mean, I have kind of my own formula, but like, any suggestions in particular?
Am I allowed to share my screen here for a second?
Yeah, you should be able to. If you're not, let me know and I'll click a button. Okay, let's try that again. And obviously I don't make any passwords that are password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Can you see my blank screen here?
You can see your blank screen?
So if I go into LastPass and I go to generate secure password, I can choose how long I want the password to be. If I know that I'm using one of those sites that is, say, weird about it, all I have to do is turn off symbols, and then I can choose it with other things at the length that they allow.
Okay.
So if the question is symbols, you just turn off the symbols. If the question is length, I normally keep mine at 25 to 30, but I can very easily turn off symbols so that it does not flag on one of those.
Okay.
Does that answer that question, William?
Yeah, that does, because I recently was going through this with a site and one of our vendors, and I like to use the @ symbol, and it was saying, no, I can't use, you know, this special character, and I could use the @ symbol, but then when LastPass was doing it, it was using a special character, but it was using it more than once in the password, and that vendor, their security software, just didn't like it.
What I would do is just tell it to turn off special characters for that one site. And if it needs a special character, then you put in an exclamation point at the end.
Yeah, I basically just ended up writing it down, switching out special characters.
What I would personally do is tell it to do one like that without special characters, and then drop an exclamation point or a colon or whatever special characters are allowed in at the end.
Right. Okay.
Or in the middle, you just randomly go.
Okay. That works out really well.
Okay.
So
anything else?
Yeah, absolutely. I've got so many questions. And I know that we'll be getting some other questions, if not now on the call, but probably later. One of my other big questions is related to not so much the passwords and the VPN side, and hang on, I just lost it. But when we're configuring our devices, because as you know, I'm on iPad, I'm on all of the stuff. So like, there's multi-factor, and I get multi-factor, and it's like, no, you're multi-factor approved on your phone, but you're not multi-factor approved on this thing. Is there a particular software like we can implement, like a Google Authenticator or something that goes like across multiple devices? Or more importantly, what's the best way when we're given those multi-factor options?
The
Like,
way
is phone the best? Is email the best? Is text? Should I get a phone call, not a text message? Like, because I know texting isn't secure. Help me
To
out here.
answer that question in a short version, I use LastPass's built-in authenticator app, which is running here on my phone, which you can see where the codes regenerate every 60 seconds. If I were to have to wipe my phone, I could simply restore this from backup and not actually lose anything. You see backup right there.
Right. So
You
this
know
is
what?
kind of like its own two-step verification.
Yeah, I don't have Face ID turned on to access this because they still need Face ID to get into my phone.
Okay.
But I can if I choose. What I personally, every single thing that I use two-factor codes on, the two-factor codes are on here. You're right, text message is not secure, nor is email because they can be intercepted. This is stored on my device. It is not stored anywhere else.
Gotcha.
It's stored on my device. There's a backup of it to iCloud. I can restore it to my iPad so that they both see the same codes. So if one of them malfunctions, I can get the code on the other one.
Now, does this get me through, like, if there's two-step authentication on a particular website? Or is this just like, this is two-step authentication from the passwords to make sure somebody hasn't stolen my password?
No. So when I go to sign into Zoho, which is my CRM,
Yep.
about every third time it asks me for two-factor authentication, name, username, password. The two-factor code, instead of being texted to me, is the one you see on the screen here that resets every 60 seconds.
Oh, cool.
And that's the same with all 12 or 15 accounts that I have listed here.
Okay.
So is this what I use? Yes, sir. I have, what do I have, 18 on here right now?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 and then 18. Yeah.
This is what I use personally for all of my passwords. I find it to be the best way to do two-factor so that I know I don't have 5 different apps doing the same thing.
Yeah, which is what my phone looks like right now, but some of that's unavoidable for me. So,
well, there's 2 apps that I have
okay,
instead of 5 or 6 or 7.
All right, you'll have to show me how to set that up because I have no idea how you set that up.
Next time we talk about that, yes, sir.
You bet. All right, we will do that. That said, I know you've got a prior obligation, and so I appreciate that you have popped on. I'm going to take a quick moment and open up the floor for questions. So if anybody has sent in an email, I'm going to take a quick peek right now, and then we'll, if you haven't thought of your question yet, but you've got a question, either reach out to me, send the email. I'll make sure it gets passed along to Brian so we can get it updated for you. That said, taking a quick night.
Would you like me? Oh, there's no chat. Okay.
Okay, we've got one person who was trying to get in. Let's see here. Give me a quick moment. And all right, I don't see anything. Lauren, if you can text me or ping me, let me know whether or not you've got anything over in the operations inbox. And otherwise, what we'll do is Brian will let you go. I'll make a couple of comments, and then we will go from there.
Anything else?
So that said, going once, going twice. All right. So Brian, I will let you hop off and we get to your prior engagement. As always, it's great to see you, sir. And thank you very much for your time today. It was really informative.
Happy to help, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Enjoy your evening.
All right, and be safe. All right, bye. All right, everyone. So that was a quick tutorial on a couple of internet security things. And the reason, by the way, that we had Brian on, not only does he do work for our firm, but also want to let everybody know that cybersecurity is probably the #1 focus of financial services industry right now, at least on our radar. And the stuff that I see in the news is about keeping things safe for clients, whether it's internal office practices or making sure we disseminate information to clients. That is also the number one theft against retirees is from information services, them trying to get banking and investment data. So that's why we have Brian on from time to time. It's really important, some of the information that he relays, and basically we go from there. Anyway, that said, I'm going to dive into a couple of my comments for the firm real quick, and then I'm going to let everybody go and get on their way because it is a summertime. We've got a couple hours of daylight still. So quick thing from a firm perspective, we are working on climbing through the last half of RMD items. We are working with folks to get them set up on Morningstar for the rollout that I mentioned last month. One of the things, if you are still seeing them, but I want to let you know about, is with the CIR statement emails for the performance reporting, some of the stuff, it's still going to be available if you want to use it, despite our switching to Morningstar, but we are going to turn off the monthly notifications. So if you do still really like having it and it's available and you like using it, reach out to us to let us know straight away so we can make sure that like your site stays up and everything else, and we'll do a walkthrough between Morningstar and this one. You can decide which one you like better. That's the simple answer on the news that's fit to print. Quick bit on the investment side. We are making some modifications to a number of the portfolios. You've probably seen a little bit of the rebalancing since my last presentation. We did add a couple of securities. We did change the allocation for a few others in terms of the model portfolios, just to be a little bit tactical to what's going on in the overall marketplace. The other thing that we're doing is we're going to be diversifying fixed income a little bit more. As interest rates have continued to climb and continue to move, we are looking to kind of take advantage of that, and that's going to modify some of our fixed income allocations in the portfolio. So do keep a close eye on that. And as always, we're coming up on the end of the quarter, so we're going to see some, obviously some rebalancing on our end that we're going to do. It's also, if you like to meet quarterly, you've got things like a TSP account or 401k from an employer, and we've had discussions about reviewing and rebalancing those accounts. This will be the time to reach out and let's get those appointments set up, so that way we can sit down and do a Zoom call in the next couple of weeks. That said, I'm going to open the floor up to any questions that you have that were either related to Brian in terms of what we use at our office, or questions that you guys have for me to go ahead and answer. And if there's nothing else on there, what we'll do is we'll let everybody go a few minutes early for the rest of the evening if we don't get any questions. So that said, fire away if you sent me emails. I'm going to check mine, and Lauren, if you can check operations as well for me. All right. Don't have anything. So we're going to let everybody go. Before I do want to add to one item that Brian touched on very briefly, which was the Apple Pay and the Apple Wallet. I will let you know that if you do have a debit card or you want a debit card through our banking system, that those should work fine and without incident. So you can most certainly continue to use that. You can also link the bank link to your Apple Wallet from the checking and that side of it, that side of the coin as well. So those things, those features do actually work. The other thing that I will also mention that Brian kind of mentioned on this, which was really nice about the no fee piece, but also something that's really important, is that because Apple generates a one-time use credit card, it is particularly handy if you are using your credit card at various places, farmers markets, wherever, where you're not always 100% sure that everything's above board. It will certainly cut down on any kind of like credit card theft or any of that kind of stuff by adding that extra layer of protection, because it is a one-time use code that Apple coordinates with the credit card vendor. So that said, I'm going to let everybody go. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, if you want to reach out to Brian for a personal session, let me know. I'll get you his information. If nothing else, going once, going twice. Everybody have, oh, wait, hang on. That said, everybody have a wonderful evening and enjoy yourselves, and we will chat again soon. Bye-bye.